Hey everybody, so today I'm going to talk about the books I read in the first part of this year, so pretty much January, February, and March. Granted, I only finished one book in March, and it was on March 2nd, so I don't know if it totally counts, but that's what I'm saying. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and jump into talking about them. I'm not gonna do any in-depth reviews, but I'm just gonna kind of talk about my general thoughts on them. So the first book I read this year was a book I started in 2019, but I finished it in 2020, and that's Light Between Oceans by M.L. Stedman. This book was good. I enjoyed it. I think I gave it like a 3 or 4 stars on Goodreads. It was definitely like an enjoyable read. I liked kind of the literary way in which it was written. I will say I'm not sure if the author's writing would have been enough to keep me entertained had there not been kind of the like extremely interesting and like bumpy story to follow, but the next book I read was Cavendon by Barbara Taylor Bradford. This book is about basically a family, kind of not like royal, but they're like dukes or something in England, and kind of the family of servants that serve them at their household, and so you kind of get the stories of both families and what's going on with them. It's multi-perspective, and it was interesting. If you're someone who likes reading kind of like family dramas, but kind of on more of like a soap opera-y level, like a Crazy Rich Asians kind of level, I would recommend this for you. I think I'll continue on with the series, but I'm not in any rush at all because it was like a very solid, just like 3-star read. Like I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't necessarily like tell everyone they have to go out and read it. But if you're nosy, kind of like drama, I think this is a good one. I will say there is a trigger warning, a little bit of sexual violence in this, kind of out of nowhere. It's very surprising, and the way it's handled is like okay, but that is in there. The next book I read was another historical fiction novel with a blue cover, because apparently that was like what I was super into, and this is The Women in the Castle by Jessica Shattuck, and this was really good. I really enjoyed it. I listened to the audiobook for part of it, and it was pretty good, but I definitely like read most of it, and I enjoyed reading it. It is about 3 women who are each affected by World War II in a different way, and kind of how they live together and come together and then come apart, and it was just kind of an interesting perspective on a World War II fiction novel. I think a lot of times you read them and they're about like not Germans, like about everyone else other than Germans, or not about Germans that like were not affected by the war in the same way that we normally think of people being affected. And so yeah, it was just interesting in that regard, and I enjoyed the different perspectives and kind of the analysis of history in like more of a gray way, so it was good. The next book I read, I don't have the cover or the book at all. It was Locke and Key by I don't remember who. It was volume 1, and it was interesting, but like I couldn't really get into it because I just didn't like the art style. I tried reading it because of the Netflix series that's coming out, and I was just kind of like eh. Like the story seems interesting and the concept is cool, but I just did not like the art style at all, and that's just a matter of my personal taste. It isn't a reflection of the artist at all. Next book I read is another book with a blue cover, All the Great Places by Jennifer Niven, and I finished this begrudgingly because I just want to know what happened. I did not really enjoy this that much at all. The audiobook is not great. I do not like the voice actors for the audiobook, and yeah, this was just very like okay. Would not really recommend it to anyone. It's kind of like The Fault in Our Stars, but worse. It's about a boy who's struggling with some issues and a girl who's also struggling with some personal issues, and kind of the journey they both go on together, and it's like sweet in some moments. It does have some good parts, and I could see myself as a high schooler being a lot more invested in it than I am as like a 26-year-old woman. But even still, if like I was gonna recommend a book to a teen, I would probably go with something else like The Fault in Our Stars, or just some other book that I think is maybe a little bit more well written and handles tough issues a little bit better than this book did. The next book I read was Illuminae by Amie Kaufman and Kristoff. This is such a fun book. I loved it. If you're looking for something to pass the time right now, highly recommend this book. I am doing a kind of review video for each book in this series, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but really enjoyed this book in particular out of the series. The next book I read was Crazy Rich Asians by Kwan, and this is a book that follows a woman who basically she falls in love with this guy in New York. They're dating, and it turns out he's crazy rich, and they go and meet his family, and things happen. This is definitely familial drama all the way. It's very campy and soap opera-y, and I enjoyed it, but I will say this is way too long. It's over 450 pages, I think, and it just goes on a little too long in my opinion. I think some things could have been wrapped up neater, and some of the perspectives maybe could have gotten cut. Sometimes when a book has so many multiple perspectives like this one did, it kind of just gets a little confusing and hard to follow and just a little too long. But I still enjoyed it. I just am not dying to go on with the series. I think I'll read the second one though, because I'm thinking maybe just part of it was I knew some of the big plot beats that were gonna happen because of seeing the movie first. I don't know, but yeah, it was just a very solid 3-star read for me, and I know people love it and I can tell why, but for me it was just it was good, but it wasn't wowed. So the next book I read was Fates and Furies by Groff, and this was so enjoyable. I really liked both. I really liked the audiobook, I really liked reading the book, and I just love that cover so much. This book follows the story of, I can't even remember their names, Lotto and Matilde, and it kind of follows each of them as they grow up and meet each other and come together as a couple, and then it follows their story after, and it does it, the first part of the book is Fates and the second part of the book is Furies, and it follows a different character in each part. And it was just really interesting. I think it was a very interesting exploration of a novel in the form of a novel, because the Fates portion has a very different tone than the Furies portion, and kind of seeing how differently each of their lives played out when they were sharing so much of their lives is very interesting, and I really enjoyed it. I will say I definitely feel I liked the Furies bit more, just because I found Matilde more interesting as a character than Lotto, but both of them were good, and I really enjoyed it. If you're looking for a contemporary novel that's different and interesting, this is a great one to go for. After that I read Gemina and also Illuminae by Amie Kaufman and Kristoff with some illustrations by Mary Lou. I don't have them with me because I got them from the library. I listened to them both on audiobook, and I also read them and followed along as I did that, so I really cannot recommend the audiobooks enough for this whole series. They're so good. I'm gonna be doing, as I said, slightly more in-depth review videos on them, but overall I really enjoyed them. I just think I think Gemina definitely dragged a little bit more compared to the first and the last book, and I think in some ways some of the characters are a little too samey for me to some of the, each couple in each book is a little bit same comparatively, but I think overall the story it tells is interesting and fun, and it's very fast-paced, and definitely I think the AI character Aiden is just the best throughout and the most interesting to follow, and I love him. So I definitely recommend them if you're looking for something that's kind of gonna take up a good chunk of your time. And I think if you're looking for something kind of fantasy or sci-fi related that's gonna be kind of fast-paced and approachable, these books are really good. They're very light sci-fi, so there's sci-fi elements, but you're not really getting too thrown in the deep end. So yeah, that is everything I've read the past 3 months, and thanks for watching.